Hi guys, it's me again. It's like I haven't done any countries for a while, and I think when I first did them, I initially did one on Iran, and during it I think I kind of focused a bit more on what went on during and after the Iranian Revolution and all that in like 1979. Yeah, so I kind of been wanting to do it since then, which it was like over like a year and a half ago now, and I thought might as well do it at some point and do it now as I've got the time and all that. And yeah. So I want to do a bit more of ancient history kind of thing. As the Persian Empire is kind of like a name that's been given to a series of dynasties based in what is now modern day Iran. That spanned like several centuries, like from the 6th century BC to the 12th century AD. As the first was founded by Cyrus the Great in 550 BC and became one of the largest empires in history, and like stretching from Europe's Balkan Peninsula to the west of India's Indus River. In the east, as the Iron Age dynasty, sometimes called the Achaemenid Empire, was a global hub of culture, religion, science, and technology for about 2 centuries before it fell to Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great and all that. As the Persian Empire started as a collection of semi-nomadic tribes who raised their sheep, goats and cattle on the Iranian plateau, Cyrus the Great, who was the leader of one of the tribes, began to defeat nearby kingdoms including Media, Lydia and Babylon, joining them under one rule, and he founded the first Persian Empire known as the Achaemenid Empire in 550 BC. As the first Persian Empire under said Cyrus the Great became one of the world's first superpowers, as it was united under one government, 3 important sites of early human civilization of the ancient world, like Mesopotamia in Egypt's Nile Valley and India's Indus Valley. As he is immortalized under like the Cyrus cylinder, which is kind of like a clay cylinder inscribed in 539 BC, with a story of how he conquered Babylon, throne king Nabonidus, bringing an end to the Neo-Babylon Empire. As Darius the Great, 4th king of the Achaemenid Empire, ruled the Persian Empire when it was at its largest, stretching from the Caucasus and West Asia to what was then Macedonia, which is in today's Balkans, the Black Sea, Central Asia, and parts of Africa including Egypt and Libya, as he unified the empire through introducing standard currency and weights and measures, making Amharic the official language and building roads, as the Postan inscription, a multilingual relief carved into Mount Beshtun in what is now western Iraq, extols his virtues and was a critical key in deciphering the cuneiform script, and its impact is compared to the Rosetta Stone, which was the thing that helps academics and scholars to decipher Egyptian hieroglyphs. And at its height, under Darius the Great, the Persian Empire had stretched from the Balkan Peninsula into wide parts of present-day Bulgaria, Romania and Ukraine, to the Indus Valley River Indus River Valley in northwestern and south to Egypt, as the Persians were the first to establish regular routes for communication between the continents of Africa, Europe and Asia. As they built many new roads and developed the world's first postal service. So who knew? As the ancient Persians of the Achaemenid Empire created art in many forms, including metalwork, rock carvings, weaving and architecture. As the Persian Empire expanded to encompass other artistic centres of early civilizations, and a new style was formed to influence from these sources. As early Persian art included large carved rock reliefs cut into cliffs, such as those found at Naxi Rustam, an ancient cemetery filled with tombs of the Achaemenid kings, as elaborate rock memorials depict equestrian scenes and battle victories, as many do. As the ancient Persians were also known for their metalwork, and in the 1870s smugglers discovered gold and silver artifacts among the ruins of the Oxus River in present-day Tajikistan, as artifacts included small golden chariot coins and bracelets decorated in griffin motif. Griffin is a mythical creature with the wings and the head of an eagle and the body of a lion, and is a symbol of the Persian capital of Persepolis. As the British diplomats and members of military serving in Pakistan brought roughly 180 of these gold and silver pieces, known as the Oxus treasure, to London, where they are now housed in the British Museum. As the history of the carpet weaving in Persia dates back to nomadic tribes, as the ancient Greeks prized the artistry of hand-woven rugs, famous for their elaborate designs and bright colours. Today most Persian rugs are made of wool, silk and cotton. As the ancient Persian castle of Persepolis, situated in southern Iran, ranks among one of the world's greatest archaeological sites, and was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1979. As the Achaemenid palaces of Persepolis were built upon massive terraces, and they were decorated with ornamental facades that included long rock relief carvings, for which the ancient Persians were famous for. As many people think of Persia as synonymous with Islam, though it became dominant religion in the Persian Empire after the Arab conquest in the 7th century, as the First Persian Empire was shaped by a different religion known as Zoroastrianism, as it was named after the Persian prophet Zoroaster, also known as Zarathustra. As Zoroastrianism is one of the world's oldest monotheistic religions, and is still practiced today as a minority religion in parts of Iran and India, as Zoroaster is likely lived sometime around 1500 to 500 BC. And taught his followers to worship one god instead of many deities worshipped by earlier Indo-Iranian groups, as the Achaemenid kings were devout Zoroastrians. By most accounts, Cyrus the Great was a tolerant ruler, which allowed his subjects to speak their own languages and practice their own religions. While he ruled by the Zoroastrian law of Ashar, truth and righteousness, he did not impose Zoroastrianism on the people of Persia in the conquered territories. As Hebrew scriptures praise Cyrus the Great for freeing the Jewish people of Babylon from captivity and allowing them to return to Jerusalem, as subsequent rulers in the Achaemenid Empire followed Cyrus the Great's hand-off approach to social and religious affairs, following Persia's diverse citizenry to continue to practice their own ways of life, as a period of time is sometimes called as the Pax Persica, or Persian peace, as the Persian Empire entered a period of decline after a failed invasion of Greece by Xerxes I in 480 BC, as the costly defence of Persia's land depleted the empire's funds, leading to heavier taxation among Persian subjects. As the Achaemenid dynasty finally fell to the invading armies of Alexander the Great of Macedonia in 330 BC, and subsequent rulers sought to restore the Persian Empire to its Achaemenian boundaries, though the empire has never quite got that big to the size that it got to under Cyrus the Great, as Iran's history as a nation of people speaking an Indo-European language did not begin until the middle of the second millennium BC. Before then, Iran was occupied by peoples of a variety of cultures, as there are numerous artifacts attesting to the settled agriculture, permanent sun-dried black brick dwellings and pottery making from the 6th millennium BC, as the most advanced areas technologically was ancient Susania, present-day Khuzestan province. By the 4th millennium, the inhabitants of the Elamites were using semi-pictographic writing, probably learned from the highly advanced civilization of Sumer in Mesopotamia, the ancient name for much of the area which is now in Iraq, to the west of Iran. As Sumerian influence in art, literature and religion also became particularly strong when the Elamites were occupied by, or at least came under the dominant nation of two Mesopotamian cultures, those of Akkad and Ur, during the middle of the 3rd millennium, and by 2000 BC the Elamites had become sufficiently unified to destroy the city of Ur, as they developed rapidly from that point, and by the 14th century BC its art was the most impressive, and small groups of nomadic horse-riding people speaking Indo-European languages began moving into the Iranian cultural area from Central Asia in the end of the 2nd millennium BC, as the population pressures overgrazing in the home area and hostile neighbours may have prompted such migrations, as some of the people settled in eastern Iran, but others, those who were to leave significant historical records, pushed farther west towards the Zagros Mountains. As these 3 major groups were identified: the Scythians, the Medes, the Madi or Madar, and the Persians known as the Parsa or Parsa. The Scythians established themselves in the northern Zagros Mountains and clung to the semi-nomadic existence, in which raiding was the chief form of economic enterprise, as the Medes settled over a huge area, reaching as far as modern Tabriz in the northern and Esfahan in the south, as they settled in the capital at Ekbatana, present-day Hamadan, and annually paid tribute to the Assyrians and the Persians, who were established themselves in 3 areas in the south of Lake Urmia. The traditional name also cited as Lake to which it was reverted after being called Lake Razaya under the Pahlavis. On the northern border of the kingdom of the Elamites was in environs of modern Shiraz, which would be the eventual settling place in which they would go and give the name Paza, which is roughly the Fars province today, roughly speaking anyway. And during the 7th century BC, the Persians were led by Achaemenish or Achaemenes in Greek, ancestors of the Achaemenid dynasty later on, and a descendant Cyrus II, also known as Cyrus the Great or Cyrus the Elder, with a combined forces of Medes and Persians to establish the most exclusive extensive empire known in the ancient world. And by 546 BC, Cyrus had defeated Croesus, the leading king of fabled wealth, and secured control over the Aegean Sea, of Asia Minor, Armenia, and the Greek colonies along the Levant. And moving east, he took Parthia, land of the Arkids, and not to be confused with Parsa, which was to the southwest, but also Chorasmis and Bactria, which later came back up as a feeling Alexander the Great married someone from Bactria, as he besieged and captured Babylon in 539 and released the Jews who had been held captive there, thus ending his immortalization in the book of Isaiah. When he died in 529, Cyrus's kingdom extended as far east as the Hindu Kush in present-day Afghanistan, but his successors were not as successful as he was, as his unstable son, Cambyses II, conquered Egypt but later committed suicide during a revolt led by a priest, Gaumata, who usurped the throne until overthrown in 522 by a member of a lateral branch of the Achaemenid family, Darius I, also known as Darius or Darius the Great, as Darius attacked the Greek mainland, which had supported the rebellious Greek colonies under his aegis, but as a result of the defeat of the Battle of Marathon in 490, he was forced to retract the limits of the empire to Asia Minor, as Achaemenids thereafter consolidated areas under Roman control, as it was Cyrus and Darius who, by the sound of far-sighted administrative planning, the political, military maneuvering and humanistic worldview, established the greatness of the Achaemenid Empire in less than 30 years, raised them from an obscure tribe to a world power. As the quality of the Achaemenid rules began to disintegrate, however, after the death of Darius in 489, as his son and successor, Xerxes was chiefly occupied by suppressing revolts in Egypt and Babylonia, as he also attempted to conquer the Greek Peloponnesus, but encouraged by a victory at Thermopylae, he overextended his forces and suffered overwhelming defeats at Salamis and Parthia, and by the time of his successor, Artaxerxes I died in 424. The imperial court was beset by factionalism along the lateral family branches, as a condition that persisted until his death in 330 of the last Achaemenids, Darius III, in the hands of his own people. As the Achaemenids were enlightened despots who allowed certain where they allowed regional autonomy in the form of a satrapy system. A satrapy was being an administrative unit, usually organised on the geographical basis, or a satrap or governor administered the region and was generally supervised military recruitment and ensured order, and the state secretary kept records, as the general and the state secretary reportedly directs to the government, as the 20 strapaes were linked by a 2,500-kilometre highway, and as the most impressive was said to be from Susa to Sardis, built by the command of Darius, as with which relays of mounted couriers, could reach the most remote areas in 15 days at it, which wasn't too bad back then. And despite the relative local independence afforded to the satrapy system, the royal inspectors, the eyes and ears of the king, toured the empire and reported on local conditions. The king maintained a personal bodyguard of about 10,000 men, called immortals. Not what something I'd call my own bodyguards and all. Not without reason, as the language the greatest use of the empire was Amharic, as Old Persian was the official language of the empire, but was not used only for inscriptions and royal proclamations, as Darius had revolutionized the economy by placing it on a silver and gold coinage system, as trade was extensive, and under the Achaemenids there was an efficient infrastructure that facilitated the exchange of commodities among the far reaches of the empire, and as a result of the commercial activity, Persian words and typical items of trade became prevalent throughout the Middle East, eventually entered the English language, like words such as bazaar, shawl, sash, turquoise, tiara, orange, lemon, peach, melon, spinach, and asparagus, just to name a couple, as trade was one of the empire's main sources of revenue, along with agriculture and tribute. And other accomplishments of Darius include the codification of data and a universal legal system, upon which much of later Iranian law would be based upon, and the construction of the new capital at Persepolis, which we have heard before, where vassal states would offer their yearly tribute at the festival celebrating the spring equinox. And its art and architecture, Persepolis reflected Darius' perception of himself as leader of conglomerates of people who he had a new single identity, as Achaemenid art and architecture was founded there and was one of the most distinctive and highly eclectic, as the Achaemenids took the art forms and the cultural religious traditions of many ancient Middle Eastern peoples and combine them into a single art form, as the Achaemenid artistic style is evident in the iconography of Persepolis, which celebrates the king and office of the monarch, as envisaging a new world empire based on the fusion of Greek and Iranian cultures and ideals, as Alexander the Great of Macedonia accelerated the disintegration of the Achaemenid Empire, as he was first accepted as leader of by the factitious Greek in 336 BC, and by 334 he advanced into Asia Minor, which is modern-day Turkey, and which was an Iranian satrapy at the time, and in quick succession he took Egypt, Babylonia, and over the course of 2 years the heart of the Achaemenid Empire in Susa, Bantana, Persepolis, and the last of which was burned, as Alexander married Roxana or Roshanak, daughter of the most powerful of the Bactrian chiefs, as previously mentioned, Oxyrhynchus, who revolted in present-day Tajikistan, I think it is, and in 324 commanded his officers and 10,000 of his soldiers to marry Iranian women, as a mass wedding held in Susa was a model of Alexander's desire to consummate the union of Greek and Iranian peoples, as the plans ended in 323 BC when Alexander was struck with fever and died in Babylon, leaving no heirs, as his empire was divided among 4 of his generals. Seleucus, one of his generals who came to rule of Babylon in 312, gradually reconquering most of Iran, and under his son Antiochus I, many Greeks entered Iran, and Hellenistic motifs in art and urban planning became prevalent. Although the Seleucids faced challenges from the Ptolemies of Egypt and from the growing power of Rome, as the main threat came from the province of Fars, or Parthia to the Greeks, as associate of the semi-nomadic Parni tribe, whose name was used by all subsequent Parthian kings, revolted against a Seleucid governor in 247 BC and established a dynasty of the series of Parthians. During the 2nd century, the Parthians were able to extend their rule from Bactria, Babylon, Suesana, and Media, and under Mithridates II from 123 BC to 87 BC, Parthian conquest stretched from India to Armenia, and after the victories of Mithridates II, the Parthians began to claim descendants from both Greeks and Achaemenids, as they spoke similar language similar to that of the Achaemenids, and used the Pahlavi script and established an administrative system based on the Achaemenid precedents. Meanwhile, Deshir, son of the priest Papak, who claimed descendancy from the legendary hero Sasan, had become the Parthian governor of the Achaemenid home province of Persis, or Fars. And in AD 224, he overthrew the last Parthian king and established the Sassanid dynasty, which was to last 400 years. As the Sassanids established an empire roughly within the frontier achieved by the Achaemenids from 550 to 530 BC, with a capital at Ctesiphon, as the Sassanids constantly sought to resuscitate Iranian traditions and obliterate the Greek cultural influences. As a rule, was characterized by considerable centralization, ambitious urban planning, agricultural development, and technological improvements, as the Sassanid rulers adopted the title of Shahanshah, or King of Kings, as the sovereigns over numerous petty rulers, known as the Shahardars, as historians believe that society was divided into 4 classes: priests, warriors, secretaries, and commoners. As the royal princes, petty rulers, great landlords, and priests together constituted a privileged stratum, and the social system appears to have been fairly rigid. As the Sassanid rule and the social stratification were reinforced by Zoroastrianism, which had become a state religion. As Zoroastrianism, priesthood became immensely powerful. As the head of a priestly caste, the Mabad, along with the military commander, the Aran Sapad, and the head of a bureaucracy, were among the great men of state. Rome, with its capital at Constantinople, had replaced Greece as Iranian's principal western enemy. Hostilities between the 2 empires were frequent, as Shapur from 241 to 72, son and successor of Ardeshir, waged successful campaigns against the Romans, and in 260 even took the Emperor Valerian as prisoner. And then Croesus from 331 to 79, also known as Anushirvan, the Just, is the most celebrated in the Sassanid rulers, as he reformed tax system and recognised the army and the bureaucracy, tying the army more closely to the central government and to the local lords, as his reign witnessed the rise of the Declans, meaning quite literally village lords, and the petty land-holding nobility who were the backbone of later Sassanid provincial administration and the tax collection system. As Charasa was said to be a great builder, embellishing his capital, founding new towns and constructing new buildings. Under his auspices, too many books were bought from India and translated into Pahlavi. Some of these were later found their way into literature of the Islamic world, as the reign of Kronos II in 591, when 621 was characterised by the splendour and lavishness of the court, which was described as wasteful, and towards the second of his reign of Chosroes II, his power declined as when he was fighting with the Byzantines. He enjoyed initial success by capturing Damascus and seized the Holocaust in Jerusalem, but counter-attacked by the Byzantine Empire. Emperor Heraclius brought enemy forces deep into Sassanid territory. As years of warfare, exhausted by both Byzantine and Iranian, as weakened by as the Sassanids became weaker by the economic decline and taxation, as there was religious unrest, rigid social stratification and increasing power of the provincial landholders, and a rapid turnover of rules, as much of it could be said to have been facilitated by the Arab invasion in the 7th century, which brought with it Islam and all that. And yeah, that's essentially ancient Iran for you. So yeah, I'll see you all soon, and yeah, bye for now, and I'll see you all soon.